Guthrie County's the better part of town.
No.
Oh, do not start
I
that.
was
Yeah.
thrilled to be out of Guthrie County.
Ever since growing up, Guthrie County's always been the better part of the town.
Outsiders were good people.
No, they're not.
Adair County's
Okay,
always
you're
been
on.
easy to work with.
Help me out, Neil. We're Southside.
I'm right on the line, so I'm good and bad.
FYI.
No, I worked for a doctor, and he always said that, it drove him crazy. And I finally asked him, like, why do you say that? He said, for your understanding. It wasn't
So
just
that-
information, I worked for a vet,
Oh,
and he was, always teaching me stuff like this for spondylosis.
the fun.
Cool.
Yeah, you were on, look at. Shows me for YouTube. Where is it? It comes up and lets me know, notifies me.
Not by my watch, but by the clock.
Yeah, it's not yet. That's
Is that
fast.
fast?
Yeah.
Take a hammer and slow it down more.
Only if you fix it when you're done.
Text yours. Call Stuart Municipal Utilities Council Chambers. Tentative agenda Thursday, June 11th, 2026, 5:30 PM. Call to order. Sherman?
Here.
Belden?
Here.
Herrick? Crawford?
Here.
AV here. Before we approve the agenda, can we move city administrator employment sharing agreement and the utility tip application up under public forum? That's all that deals with you, right, Steve?
What's that?
The TIF application thing and the sharing agreement.
Yes.
Okay, we're gonna move those up under public forum. Okay. So, agenda approval.
I'll move.
Second.
Okay, how do you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yep.
Crawford?
Yep.
Maybe yes. Consent agenda, minutes of regular meeting 5/14/2026 and minutes of joint meeting of 5/14/2026 and minutes of joint meeting of 5/20/2026 and minutes of joint meeting of 5/30/2026, financial statement as of 5/31/2026 and bills as presented.
I didn't see the financial statement on that.
It's always the Victor reports on the back.
Yeah, no, I got the, must have missed, okay, it's on the back,
Yeah.
page wise, okay.
Do we have a motion?
Second, yeah, I'll make that motion.
Second.
Okay, how do you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yep.
Crawford?
Yes.
AB, yes. Okay, public forum.
Did they end up doing that transfer that we voted on?
No, we did not do the transfer.
Okay, so I thought we voted on that last one to do that monthly.
Right, but it's city funds, and
Okay.
so the utility board can't give direction to withdraw
So it
city
just-
funds. from
Yeah,
the
so
account.
when,
We're gonna talk to Wally about it when he gets here.
okay, so, but the motion was already made to do that cost sharing, so.
It was to do the cost sharing, but it wasn't specific about the transfer. I talked to Ash about it before he left, and he said that his intention was to do that after the close of the fiscal year.
Each year,
Right.
do it one time.
So I can talk to Jolly about that when he gets here.
Okay.
That poor guy's gonna run away his first
I
day.
know, don't make me scare him. I want him to stay.
Hey, do we have a motion?
It's just.
Or a public forum.
Oh, public forum, do we have anyone? Okay. Then we're gonna go with, city administrator employment sharing agreement resolution, ordinance, and board discussion. Steve, or,
Well, this was, so we have two attorney opinions on employees serving in various capacities, right? And they say one thing as far as our organization, and then Marquita's report conflicted with that based off of her review of positions. So 30 years ago, Ash was hired, and it was based off of ABC process. So the last joint meeting, the way we left it is we wanted to get that cleaned up, whether that's through a sharing agreement, whether that's through an updated ordinance to reflect a utility, is a utility manager? What's the one in Greenfield called?
You have a secretary and a treasurer.
Right, but I'm saying,
oh, what, the one in Greenfield's a general, is a
General manager, yeah.
general manager.
so whether another job description needs to be created on the utility side, I don't know what the answer is. I have no idea, but that's the way we left it. So the next group of people that are elected and or appointed don't have to wonder the process, right?
Yeah.
So we, Ash set this up. It worked very well while he was here, and then we're all playing gotcha, trying to figure out because it's not in writing. We don't know what to follow. So in our joint meeting, you were here for that meeting.
Yes,
I mean,
yes.
So what I would recommend, and I've since talked to Marquita, and I think there's some misunderstanding. I mean, apparently there's a payment made, some of the wages are done under the city's EIN number, or all the wages are done under the city's EIN number, and that's what they were focused on. But regardless, this would traditionally be dealt with in a sharing agreement.
okay.
So, I assume when they hired the city administrator, they included utility billing, overseeing all departments of the city. We could do a sharing agreement where the city, or the utility, is contributing a portion of the salary, and the city administrator would then function as the utility administrator as well.
And all I'm getting at is that I would think that we would want it to be documented, whatever it is, I don't care, that it's amicable for the council and utilities. We all had input, it was, the interview process happened and, whatever. We've got someone hired, and so whatever our part of that is, all I'm looking for is the direction and documentation to make that smooth, so it's not a guessing game.
Is
Yeah,
that
when
supposed to be reflected in?
And as I understand
I
it,
don't know.
correct me if
That's-
I'm wrong, that there's other city employees that are also, some of their job duties involve utility.
Yeah.
Billing, I think is one.
Pretty
and-
much all of the city hall staff with the exception of economic development.
So we could cover all of that in a sharing agreement.
What,
And I'd recommend that you do that.
well, that's what, yeah, whether we, pay their salaries, whether there's a payment to the city, whether I don't care what it looks like, it just needs to be documented. So how is that employee supposed to even know what they do for the utilities if it's not documented? I don't think there's anything related to that job posting from Marquita. There was very limited references to the utilities. I mean, I looked at it, and, there might have been some underlying things, but, the level of detail that the city administrators involved in utilities, I think, should be called out more so, and so people aren't guessing.
Oh, absolutely.
So,
And there should be a mechanism for, the utility deciding to go a different direction.
Okay.
At some
Yeah.
point, you may get to where you need another person.
Right.
And it may be decided at that point that the utility wants to hire somebody for the utility. So some method of separating
And I'm sure,
6 months' notice, whatever that may be.
it's always to beat up, it's always easy to beat up the person that's not in the room for what they did or did not do. And that's not what I'm getting at. I'm sure there's a reason why Ash split out the compensation the way he did over the years, and it worked, it met audit requirements, whatever, I don't care.
Right.
But what it doesn't cover is for us to look back and say, this is why we did it, and this is the process. Like, I think we have a different sharing agreement on your position with health benefits, right? Versus what Ash is. I think we pay all of
So-
Ash's or something, I don't.
We're 50-50 on me, and then
Maybe it's another
the
person.
utility was 100% on Ash,
Okay.
and the city was 100% on Ashley. So
Gotcha.
it's net and even split.
And there's nothing wrong with how that's set up, but there's no documentation of why it's set up that way.
Absolutely.
So all I'm getting at is, I just wanted you to come out so we could, give you the authority to work with the council, us, as needed in Jolly. When Jolly's here, how does Jolly, you know what I mean?
I assume you'd want him involved in the
Correct.
process.
I mean, I would hope so.
Well, I think that's one thing where we didn't have job descriptions for, and that would be the best place to cover that, wouldn't it? Is in the job description. We should have it, even though we just hired him, he should have a job description,
You know,
an updated
Right.
one. And
Yeah.
that's where we could cover that, a lot of that, isn't it?
Yeah, oh, absolutely, and right now, I have the contract for the city administrator, and I looked at it, and there is a catch-all in there, and any and all other duties assigned by
Gotcha.
the city.
okay.
And I assume the catch-all was designed to deal with the
Right.
duties associated with utility, would be my guess. But I didn't draft it, and I guess it was Marquita's agreement.
Well, that would be something good to have defined though on the utility side, wouldn't it?
Yeah, yeah,
And what
absolutely.
it looked like happened was Ash was hired in 1990 as a clerk. Then there was a city administrator position created 15, 20 years ago, an ordinance for that, no reference to the utilities inside of that.
Right.
But then he was still, there may have been another job description, I don't know. But there was an ordinance put together in 1990 by the prior utility board.
Uh-huh.
So then the town changes, town grows, positions change,
Yeah.
and there's just no updated documentation as to what happened and to why. And,
Right.
and it doesn't even have to be 100% specific. If it just covers kind of the 80-20, that's fine, it's better than nothing,
Oh, absolutely.
you know, so.
And you gotta figure out what the percentages are, right? So if it's gonna be 50% or 60%,
Right.
whatever the number is.
I don't care what it is, as long as it's agreeable and.
How are you gonna figure out percentages if you go that route? Because maybe, say they worked 80% one month on utilities, 20 on city, but the next month they did 60% on city and only 40%
You
on.
kinda have to do
I
it for
don't
a
know
whole
that.
year. You can't try to do it month
Yeah,
by
and-
month.
Yeah, I mean,
And that's to me where he puts the legal expertise behind it, and Jolly puts the management side, and then they put it out to the council and board to review.
Yeah.
I guess is what I was envisioning, and I don't
Come
know.
up with a percentage, you know, and
Or
have
maybe-
Jolly involved in that process once he gets a
Right, yeah.
handle for how this all works out
Yeah.
here.
Right. Kind of work
Um,
off each employee and you just gotta estimate the split.
Up to 50%, up to, I mean, you know, just use,
Some
Or-
may be
or
more,
just set the
some may be more.
percentage, realizing, so this year you're working on a
Right.
transmission
correct.
upgrade.
Yep, may not be there next
Um,
year, so.
Yeah, so this year he might be expected
Yeah.
to have more some more duties out
Yep.
here in the utility. Next year, you might not have a project,
Right.
in which case it's only 40%. So you just average it out, come up with a percentage or an amount, a dollar amount.
The thing
and go
that,
from there.
the big glaring thing in her report that we just kind of didn't worry about, that conflicts with what your opinion said, is that we don't hire and fire on our side, which is completely contrary to, I mean, the board's history, it's a voted-in entity.
Mhm.
And so that's why the sharing agreement needs to clean that stuff up from 1990 to, you know, your opinion to her.
Right.
Cause I mean, that's an auditing glaring issue to me from a management perspective. Who is a person supposed to say is there?
Well, and typically in sharing agreements, so for example, in this situation, you have a city administrator, the city hired, and there was some participation by the utility board to some degree. But at the end of the day, the city administrator is a city position. right?
Yeah.
So you're really just contracting to have some of his services in conjunction with utility, and you're paying for that, you know, so to outline that. There wouldn't be so much having the utility board have the ability to fire him, it'd just be go a different direction. So the
Okay.
utility board could do its own thing, and the city administrator would retain his position as city administrator, at the pleasure of the city council.
So, something that we had done I don't know, was it earlier this year or last year, but we put all positions under the utilities, under ash,
Yeah,
which was a change, and that causes another, because it doesn't follow that,
yeah.
you know?
Yeah, so if they're city employees, then the city administrator has the ability to hire and fire, subject to council review
Okay,
and approval. The way you've been doing things, and it makes perfect sense because you have bills going out, the city's sending out bills. So you have joint billing, duplicative staff, it just doesn't make sense. So you set up a system where you have some employees that are city employees that are performing some utility board duties. You're paying for that, as I understand it. And you've come up with a cost-sharing arrangement that you've been following. You just reduce that to writing. And if the utility wanted to go a different direction, it'd just be a matter of terminating the sharing agreement.
okay.
And doing your own thing. And then the city would make the decision what they wanna do, if they can still justify the position or
Okay.
what they wanna do.
I understand.
Because it would just be unworkable to have two entities having termination authority
Oh,
over
yeah,
one
I-
employee.
yeah,
But, and the poor employee, imagine how they feel.
but that's what I'm getting at, on the utility side, so Pat and everybody that works for Pat then would still work for the utilities then, right?
Yeah, yeah.
And so we had changed that either earlier this year or last year, I don't remember when, to all report through ash, so that's an invalid, that doesn't work.
Unless you had an agreement of some
We
sort.
didn't with the city, we just did it, and that's what I'm trying to get at is, you know, there's gotta be some
Well, and the reason,
continuity to these.
the reason we did that
Oh, yeah,
was for him, was like, cause he was reporting to the chair.
right,
But if the chair's gone,
not
he
here.
has nobody to
Right.
report to,
Right.
so that's why, or
And you all got other jobs. I mean,
Right.
it's-
Some
Some
of
of
us.
us are retired, but.
some of us.
But, and
I mean,
maybe
it was
that still
just
works,
me
it just
that
needs to be in
reports to
writing.
Ash,
Maybe it
not-
just needs to
Yeah,
be in writing.
it was,
Yeah.
it was
Yeah.
just Pat
Yeah,
that we made
yeah,
report
and
to
maybe that
Ash.
still works, it just needs to be in writing.
I
like
mean, he's
part of
gotta
this whole deal.
report to Ash, or to the city administrator and the board chair, to both.
We could just have that as part of the sharing agreement.
Yeah,
But I need to get with somebody that knows all of this, so I could craft it.
and I'm
And I
not,
assume that would be Sarah, but,
yeah, and I guess, is that you? I'm just saying, this is probably gonna take a while, right? There's been 30 years that have gone by, I'm not thinking this is something that's gonna happen overnight.
right.
It's just, I wanted to see if the board was okay with going that direction to try to clarify this for the next person that were to come in here as board, council, and city administrators. They don't have the,
I definitely wanna see the documentation, for clarity. I also think on the percentages and trying to manage from year to year on a dollar amount or something, I think we need to make it pretty simple.
Simple,
We're
I
both,
agree.
we're both saving, another half of employee that we'd have to, hire, you know?
Yep.
Yeah.
So that to me, you might have some years that are a little bit more on one side or another, but it also creates the synergy between the two entities that we want.
Right.
And the thing that I don't know about in how you clarify is if the city all of a sudden wants to hire like 2 more people because they have so much other stuff that's going on, and it doesn't seem like it relates to the utility or something like that. How do we work it out then? Are they then able to just hire those people 100% them and we don't share in those people?
Well, maybe the agreement
Or-
should be specific on what positions we're sharing, like,
Right.
yeah,
just do it that way.
Yeah.
And then if they hire another person,
That's on them.
that would require
Okay.
us to change the sharing agreement if we were gonna participate.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And
So-
you just say the number of positions,
So can
right?
you
And us as well, if we wanted to hire somebody
And then
else.
I can
Correct.
That would go the
That
other
would
way.
change the
You
sharing
want me to help you?
Yeah.
I'm thinking this is gonna be an iterative process though, with Jolly, with the council, with the utility board,
Right.
to get feedback,
So-
not something that's gonna happen overnight. I just,
Yeah.
because we just got through this process with Marquita, I was just wanting to follow from the joint meeting and the way we left it, so we don't have to worry about this again, just trying to add clarity to
Absolutely.
what exists. There's nothing wrong
I
with
don't know
what
how.
has happened, I'm
All I
not saying
know
that.
is
It's just time for some change on,
Since we have the mayor
Right,
here,
because,
yeah,
do you wanna
because of
let's talk at
the
all about this subject?
raises and stuff.
That, Ken brings up a good point in this conversation. One of the things that this agreement who is in charge of determining the wage increases. Because as it stands right now, the utility board approves a wage increase for the percentage of wages that they support, and
Yeah.
the city council approves the same on their side. So one of the things that Marquita suggested is that the city council is in charge of approving the wages for all of the city hall staff.
Mhm.
And then the utility board just contributes whatever the agreed percentage is of the total.
But what if you get a council that wants to give 0, or a council that wants to give 20%? And we don't agree with it. I wouldn't wanna sign up for that financial obligation. That's just me, or lack thereof, you know? I mean, that's,
Yeah, and then those are policy discussions you have to have with.
I don't have an
the
issue with,
council and.
yeah, I don't have an issue with the
and
rate
Jolly
structure,
and
but,
whatever would work.
yeah, but that gets into the performance reviews on, you know, do we provide direct feedback, or if we don't like how things are going, if we go a different direction on one, do you go different direction with all? I mean, that's just,
Mm-hmm.
those are all things that need to be discussed in an agreement with the council, mayor, board, you, Jolly, in a methodical, you know, holistic approach versus, you know, we got a new position, so we created an ordinance that doesn't reference anything to do with the utility side, but there's all this utility.
Somebody out there is doing this process
I
really
totally
well.
agree with you.
So we should be able
Yep.
to
Copy
piggyback
some
on
work.
that,
Yeah.
on most of it.
What I don't think the ordinance is the right vehicle,
Okay.
only because the city passes ordinances. And
Right.
the city's can't pass ordinances that impact the utility. So you guys gotta develop job duties and what that looks like. The city passes an ordinance relative to the job duties of the city administrator. So they could add in there, and I think it's probably in there, and any other duties,
Yeah, but
The
that any other
council may
duties is
assign.
one bullet point, but it may take up 50% of their time, is what I'm trying to say. And there may be 20 bullets, only one bullet that accounts for the 50%. Somebody coming in may not have appreciated or understood the exposure to that. I mean, I've spoken with a few of these people that have dual entities like that, and it is a 50-50 deal, but based on the year, based on the day, it's an ebb and flow, whether it's 50-50, it might be 100% 0. But without someone knowing, new board, new council, it's a gotcha game, and I don't wanna play that on, down the road. It's not, you know, I'd rather have the details to pass to the next group of people.
we can
That's
do all of that.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, so.
Um,
But I mean, are you guys okay going down that road, letting, you know, you guys work with Jolly once he gets here and everyone to try to iron that out?
Yeah, I think so.
So, I mean, I don't know if we need some sort of, there's gonna be a cost associated, there's no way to size anything like that, is there? Because you don't know how long that stuff's gonna take.
Yeah, you don't know what, how long
Right.
it's gonna take.
Right.
And I think there's 3 or 4 positions where there's joint,
Yes,
there's sharing going on now.
yep,
You also have the component of billing. Billing's undertaken by the city,
Yeah.
right? And you share information, and
Yeah.
some of which is confidential information, so you should cover that. And however you're arranging the costs associated with the cost of mailing or how that's taken care of. You should have all of that. And whether that's one agreement or 2 agreements, you know, you just have to see what your structure is and where the city council and the board land on what
Gotcha.
that looks like, with Jolly's input.
so, I mean,
Well, it sounds like you're all looking for a fresh perspective, which is due to arrive in about 3 weeks.
yeah, so I'll make a motion that we refer this item to Steve, Jolly, city staff, council, and board, all whatever, as needed, to ratify some sort of an agreement on what the scope of employment is, for the entity sharing.
And that's
Don't
not-
ask me to repeat that, cause
And
it's a lot of
I'll
BS.
call Jolly after he starts. I'll give him a couple weeks
Well,
to
yeah,
settle
I
in.
mean, this may take three months, it's just, you know, there's been years in the past where the council's gone higher on raises, utility board's gone lower, and vice versa.
Mhm.
You do a market study, you raise it on certain people, anyway.
Is there any immediate decision that has to be made, like, or can we continue with exactly the structure that we had before while we're
Sure.
making those decisions?
Yeah, I think that makes perfect
Okay.
sense, and nothing changes,
Okay,
but let Jolly know that, you know, here's the keys, you know, and we've given him the resources, that's all. We're giving him the resources to try to, you know, make things clear, that's all.
Okay, we have a motion.
Got a second?
I'll second.
How you vote, Sherman?
Yes.
Belden? Crawford?
Yes.
AB, yes. Okay, now the, utility board substation TIF application, board discussion.
I asked for that one too. Sorry. Since you're gonna be out here, I wanted to make a motion as well that if needed, that you're available to represent us on, as that proceeds. So,
Absolutely. I
it may
think,
not be needed, it may be needed, I don't know that all the details are with that, but, you know, if there's information needed from whatever that DGR, you know, to verify along the way, so. There's a portion of this that is potentially funded by TIF, and then the rest of it funded by a low-interest loan, so it'd be a John Danos type of back and forth.
yeah, I would think, the city would have bond counsel, who I understand is Dan.
Yeah.
And he'd need to obviously participate in all of that, but I'm happy to, participate with the utility and do anything that's necessary.
Okay, so I'd make that motion as well, that I'd be referred, and you'd have the ability to help bring that to a head. There's just all these changes that are going on, and I'm sure all these firms are gonna be busy rat racing, and then you got the holidays, you know, November, December, so. All these communities are gonna be backfilling and, you know, backlogging these people, and so.
I'll second that.
Okay, how you vote, Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yep.
Crawford?
Yes.
AB, yes. Okay. Water tower height adjustment project, partial payment number 2, final, Pittsburgh Tank and Tower Group, $94,741.84. And can I read them both together? And then B, acceptance of project and release of retainage, $11,720.64.
Thanks, Councilperson Beatty. So the water tower is done. Water tower is done. Water tower is done. And so this would be accepting the project, making final payment. The release of the retainage would not be made until 31 days after the acceptance. But this makes that approval tonight so that we don't have to bring it back to the board. So it just hangs on to that, just to make sure there are no claims filed against the project by any subcontractors or suppliers, which I would have thought if there were going to be any, we would have that by now, but legally we need to hold it for that period.
And everything went fine.
Everything went fine, yes.
It looks better.
So the
Yes,
bid we accepted, there was no overage, and the retainage of 11,000 that we held was part of the project, so that's,
yeah, the amount bid is the amount, the final amount of
Okay.
the project. They had some, when they did some welding and cutting, they, kind of did some spots on the cone of the tower, some burn marks. And we pointed that out to them, and they said, no, we'll take care of that, and they came out and fixed it right away.
Awesome.
So they were very cooperative with doing anything we asked.
so Sarah, there's no out-of-pocket expenses from the utilities for that repair outside of,
I know what you mean, yeah, it was within the budget.
Okay.
Yeah,
Yes.
I just, can we put
But
that
we
in the
paid.
motion or not? What?
we paid out of our pockets, but
Yeah.
that's budgeted.
Nothing out of budget though? that was-
Right,
okay.
right, it was within budget,
All right,
and I will add it to the
Okay.
minutes. Okay.
thanks.
So do we have a motion?
So move, second.
Okay, how do you vote, Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yes,
Crawford?
Yes.
AB, yes.
thanks Forrest very
Thank you
much.
very much.
Is anybody, while he's here, wanting to revisit this whole, water treatment plant study? Just a thought, I had to get that jab in there, never mind, sorry.
Okay, number 8, utility employee wages, 2026.
And I have a
Change the
typo on
year.
the agenda.
You changed the year.
Yeah,
So, that's a long time away.
So the city council tabled this until after Jolly gets here and has a chance to
Makes sense.
analyze the budget.
I think we should table it.
Do you need a motion?
No,
Okay.
electric rate increase, financial advisor, Chip.
And he's not here. I did give you, just for your information, a copy. It's one page out of the minutes from May 8th, 2025, which it's in your extra materials that were on your desk. So Jared had, Blair Metzger with DGR had proposed option A for the rate increases across all of the classes. And then board member Belden had requested a couple of different options, and so that's option B and option C. I just wanted to give you this so that you had it to kind of refresh your memory about the different options that we looked at. So option A is across the board, increase to all rate classes. It sets it out, lays it out for the next 5 years, so starting with 2.5%, then 2%, 2%, 2%, and 1%. And then option B would be a 1% increase to the residential rate class. And then the options that you see, those would be applied to the commercial rate class. And then option C is 0% increase to the residential class. And then all of those rate increases that you see would be applied to commercial. And just to kind of put it in perspective, Stuart Utilities has 973 paying electric customers. Of those, there are only 178 commercial customers. So your commercial customer base is only 18% of your total base. So instead of spreading your increases across 973 customers, if you went with option C and only applied them to commercial, then you'd have 178 customers absorbing all of that. So I went ahead and I calculated, the average residential bill is $121.33 a month. So if you went with option A across the board for everyone, that first increase is the biggest of 2.5%. You're gonna see an average increase on a residential bill of $3.03 a month.
I spoke with Chip earlier this week, and so was he not able to,
He
is he
must be
backlogged with?
swamped.
Yeah, I'm wondering, all this, yeah, I bet, all those state changes, I bet he is. He said that Jolly has already been reaching out to him on this stuff.
Yeah.
So, this stuff is fine. This was done without any consideration of the franchise fee, which the public plans on that being a part of, and also the TIF impacts of that savings. So, and it doesn't put it into perspective in our electric rate budget model. So to me, those are the things that need to be shown to us, and I think Chip needs to present that to us.
Yeah,
I
absolutely.
think it's just gonna take a while.
This is just a refresher.
Yeah, no, I'm with you. If we did any of these, I don't know if that meets the need of the current math, right? The current budget, that's all.
When do we need to make a decision for?
I don't know,
Year one.
each month keeps coming around.
But year one, shouldn't we be making a decision on that now?
I don't know, we don't know what the
I know, but should we at least be making a decision, because it's here?
Make a decision on what, though, Neil?
You can adjust the rest of the schedule for the rest of the years.
Right.
I'd be okay with 2.5% this year across the board. That's setting the stage for what we do for the rest of the time.
I would agree with that.
I would agree with that.
Let's get going on this, because you're right, we can adjust it next year.
Based off of what? What if it needs to be 5?
Then the rest of the schedule will be adjusted.
So we're creating an answer for something we don't know what the question is what I'm trying to say. We're trying to,
But we're also not, I don't feel like we're doing any harm by doing that, and it's a reasonable, maybe yours is 2 or 1.5, or I don't know. I feel like we need to make a decision.
and we're doing it without our financial advisor here, and he doesn't have refreshed numbers to tell us what that needs to be, and we're sitting on $4 million in reserves from the public's money, and we're talking about raising rates on math we don't know. That doesn't seem like a good decision to me, because the facts aren't there to understand whether that 2.5 is right or wrong.
Well, everything he's given us so far has told us it's gonna be
It's
at
gonna be
least this,
higher than that.
it's gonna be at least this range. I mean,
Yeah.
if we had to raise it again in 6 months to meet new math, we could do it, but I agree, we need to do something now. But how long does it take before we can institute a rate increase?
It'll be a couple months.
So, the longer we sit here and do nothing, we've already waited way too long, if you ask me. I was ready to do this a long time ago.
But who's all in I mean, my rates don't go up. I mean, whose goes up?
Mine,
Yeah, mine don't.
Mine doesn't either.
but I would rather pay the $3 more a month than I
Correct.
would $20 or $30 down the line.
Right. And if we wait, it only gets worse, it doesn't get any better if we wait.
But if you're putting money down towards a project and you have these different scenarios, how do you know what the right rate increase is? When those costs come in, they may come in 60% the first year, 40% the second, while you implement this project. So you, I just don't understand how you.
Are we
know what the
limiting
rate
ourselves
increase-
from going up later, going down?
You never go down, right? It's a utility. You never go down. It's not a tax rate. Tax rates are adjustable, but, you know,
Why couldn't you cut your rate?
show me a business case that any utility has ever lowered.
Is
their
there
rates.
is there a legal matter that says we couldn't?
Is there a business case that's ever happened that says that you would?
You're saying that you would, if we did it now, next month, and you would propose that we decrease it, wouldn't you? Because we didn't have the
I
numbers.
wouldn't jump off the deep end because we don't have enough information to make an accurate decision, just because I feel like it's a knee-jerk deal and I wanna do something. That's just me. I know we're gonna have to do something.
Yeah, I think it's, I
but
think
want it
that's,
to be the right answer.
I think
that's
that's baseline is at least 2% is gonna be the next year. And in any of the scenarios.
So I
why not-
remember his estimates, the estimates we got earlier was, I think, if we use TIF at it would be 2.6%. And I thought he said every year. And if we did not, it would be 3.7 every year for these years. So,
I mean, I can't see a scenario where it's zero for the next 5 years.
correct.
So if we do 2.5% this year, and then the rest of the years are lower because we did the 2.5% this year, because we worked out some great scenarios, well, great. I mean,
But we did 6.5 over the last 2 years then, is what would be my rebuttal. Because we did 4% for the franchise fee and 2.5% here, so
Correct.
that needs to be considered along with our piggy bank of $4 million of
Well,
utilities.
Okay, in this
Right.
agreement with using TIF, didn't our reserve just go down like $900,000?
Yep.
So now we're down to 3 million.
Correct, and part of that may be used for, project costs, which would,
Correct, but
again,
we've still gotta pay this bill. I mean, the lower number that he gave us earlier took all this TIF into consideration, and like I said, it was 2.6, and I thought he said every year for 5 years.
he's
on that.
not, I don't think he's shown us anything
This,
with everything.
I can't remember
considered,
what-
though.
which, this was an estimate at one
Yeah.
point. So
And-
I don't see us losing anything by going with a proposed rate.
we also
of
just hired an
2%.
employee that cost more than the last employee,
Right.
so. I'll make a motion for 2.5% for the fiscal year starting July
Across
1st,
the board, yeah.
2026.
I'll second that.
Hey, how you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
No,
Crawford?
Yes.
Avy? Yes. Okay, electric substation project, acceptance of EIRLP award.
So you've been awarded this, but there are some steps that you're gonna have to go through after accepting it. We just need you to formally accept it so that we can close by December 1st.
I'll make that motion.
Thank you.
A second?
Second.
How you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yes.
Crawford?
Yes.
Avy, yes. Okay, city administrator reports.
Okay. You have your reports. So our utility billing reports are on top. If we don't mention names, the first one is the delinquent accounts. For the month of May, there are 8 new accounts. There are 5 showing on the first page. The remaining 3 are showing on the second page. The next report is the delinquent accounts paid in full. There are 3. There's 1 showing on the first page, and the remaining 2 are showing on the second page. And flip through to the payment agreement report. There are 4 new payment agreements this month as marked. The next report is paid in full payment agreements. There are no changes on that report. Flipping through to budget billing, there are no changes on that report. Next is deceased or bankrupt. We have 4 changes as marked. And last one is total collected by offset program, there are no changes this month. Looking at the financial report, as of the end of May, you have $7.3 million in the bank. The next is the year-to-date summary, starting July 1st, 2025 to the end of May, you have an increase of $30,000. Go to the next one, it shows where you're at in your budget. After we put that amendment on there, you have $704,000 remaining to get you through this last month. And then the last page is the year-to-date, or pardon me, month-to-date transactions from the beginning to the end of May. You are negative $151,000. That is because of the purchase of the boring machine.
Okay, water treatment plant overview, tour for board members, water superintendent, Ben.
Okay, in the back, somewhere in your package, you should have some photos that was the inside of the filter. They don't do much, it just pictures the rust and metal, but that's something you won't see on the tour, so it just kind of illustrates that some of that has progressed pretty far, you know, from a maintenance point. The handout that you guys should have is the treatment plant needs, I just kind of set them up there. I'll go through this kind of quickly. I kind of went through some of the known issues. We have a high service pump. We have two high service pumps, and one is the backup, and they alternate. One of them has not worked in a long time. We've had quotes before to fix that, probably in the ballpark of about $6,000. I would say that is high priority. Anytime we run our wells, we really need to have two pumps. And as a matter of fact, we're having problems with the other pump now that may or may not be serious, so now it's really critical. Some chemical feed upgrades. This would be just basically more advanced chemical feed pump than we have now for our ammonia feed. You know, it's not a high dollar thing, but it's something we probably want to do for this season. And then there was a level control upgrade in the filter. It was just a few $100. We already did that. Replacing all the feed lines in the filter, we've already done that. So our filter is, we just took samples, they're at the lab right now. We should be ready that we could put our plant online hopefully as soon as Friday if we had to for an emergency. So below I put items for consideration because they're things that, you know, they're so expensive, and we'll probably want Forrest to take a look at it and kind of give us some options for moving ahead. The ground storage tank rehabilitation, so I did get a price. That's that second page. Viking does our maintenance for our tower currently. They looked at our ground storage tank. You can see, if you go down to the bottom, that's $175,000 to rehabilitate that. We haven't put any money in that tank, I don't know, since the 60s or 70s probably. So it's basically an unlined concrete tank. With sanitary surveys, the DNR is not real happy with the maintenance situation on that. We need to get some kind of a lining put in there, and if we're gonna continue to use that, that's something we will have to look at.
Any idea of what the replacement cost would be on that tank?
A lot more, I don't know. I couldn't even venture a guess.
Okay.
But it can totally be rehabilitated, which is the good news.
Okay.
We'll talk a little more about it. We actually have two tanks and we're gonna retire one of them, but we'll kind of get down to that.
But you're saying that, to what Neil's question was, it'd be umpteen times more to replace it?
Yeah.
Okay.
I think we would want to rehabilitate that. Forrest can look at it if we decide to use him to kind of go a little further on this, but I think rehabbing it is the way to go. And this price, this is just a first price. This isn't to scare you off, but it's just to give you an idea of the scope of what we're talking about here, that this isn't a small thing, you know.
And the only time this runs is if, on what basis?
Just when we're running the wells, and the rest of the time, the water does sit in there. That tank
Okay.
sits full all the time. So when it sits there for 6 months and we don't use it, you wanna know that that water is, you know, protected. It's not leaching anything from the ground around it. So So it is finished drinking water. So you want it to be in the same condition that, you know, any storage tank would be in, that it's safe and it's sealed and all that. So we will discuss that more, but that just gives you an idea. So the next thing, the filter rehab and rust repair, media replacement. That's where we need to probably decide, is it worth rehabbing this filter? Can this filter be rehabbed? The company that made our filter, they are still in business, and so that's good. We have no problem. We can get drawings and things to get a lot of the data on that tank. So probably rehab will be the way to go if we want to keep going. And then I put something on there for well maintenance. I looked into that with Northway, that's always done our well maintenance. They said don't mess with the wells. If they're working and production is good, you're better off not to fool with them. You're more than likely just gonna cause a problem. So our wells are producing like they always have, so things seem to be pretty good over there. So then a couple things we'll talk about more as time goes on is, right now we're on reduced monitoring. That means we can only run 30 days a year. It's designed to be an emergency use only. The DNR allows us to take advantage of that a little bit, and we just run periodically throughout the summer, just because it keeps everything working and keeps everything wetted up. It's not really designed to be used that way. You know, last year we ran for a few weeks when we were having kind of some nitrate issues. So if we stay with the 30 days a year, you know, it's less monitoring, and the ground storage tank is important no matter what, but like maybe some of this other stuff, we don't have to get quite so carried away if we're on reduced monitoring, and if we're on our emergency use. Now, if we wanna run more, which, you know, who knows, with nitrate issues, might wanna run more than that 30 days, then we would just upgrade, you know, just a regular permit. We could pump as much water as we wanted to. There will be more testing requirements, and then that's when the DNR they are going to wanna see more intensive plant upgrades, cause it just stands to reason that if you wanna run all the time, they expect you to be maintaining your facilities a little bit better than we have been.
Are there
So,
other things that we can do to eliminate or reduce the risk of this nitrate impact, even coming from Des Moines, or is it supposedly already all dealt with by the time it gets to? I don't believe that, though. I mean, I don't understand how, you know, the correlation between the cancer rates and they blame it on nitrates. Well, okay, then, you know, they say everything's taken care of in Des Moines.
There's a lot of things going on there, because we know that the state has a lot of the more money to build more nitrate removal. That's gonna take a year or two to implement. Once that happens, that's gonna give them the ability to deal with this nitrate problem a little bit better. That probably will not be a permanent solution, because they seem to sell more water so, you know, they do an upgrade, and then like now everything's under control. The time is gonna come that if something doesn't change with our legislature and the way we deal with this nitrate issue at the source, eventually, you know, that plant will be at capacity too. As far as us dealing it once it gets here, that would be a treatment process that we can't do. We'd have to have some kind of RO or nitrate removal of our own. That's gonna be so expensive.
You couldn't do that with your enhancements to the existing plant,
No.
without a brand new plant?
Correct. This is just an iron removal plant,
Okay.
is all this is.
All right.
As far as like how that affects us, it does affect us even when 10 parts per million is where we need to be below to be in compliance for nitrates, which they have been able to do and hopefully will continue to do. If that gets above 10, then it's public notice, and then we've got an issue. At that time, we would run our wells, and that's how we would deal with that, so that people can still, you know, use the water, obviously, however they want. So,
Does this plant, so we're on these wells, does this plant make the water compliant if we shut off Xenia and use the wells? Like you said, for
Yes.
30 days,
yeah,
what would the nitrate level be of that water?
extremely low.
So is-
Probably, you know, 2 parts.
This is surface waters where the nitrates are coming.
Right,
Yeah,
these are
it is.
coming from wells, I get that. But I'm just wondering, I mean, you know, these guys are setting a threshold of 10, but it may be 2, should be 2. Should you be
Well-
doing something different outside of just, okay, here comes the water, let's shove it out because it meets the threshold? I don't know, I'm just,
That
obviously,
thing you're
like you said, the
suggesting,
idiots at the legislature don't care. I
It
totally
would-
agree with you.
It would be building a new plant. Yes, we can produce water from our plant, and it is safe to drink, and it's low in nitrates. The only reason we looked at the new plant instead of just running our plant more is there are hardness issues and the water quality is not. The other water, nitrate's a big deal, but there's more to water quality
Sure.
than just nitrate. Their water is very high quality aside from this nitrate issue. Obviously, you don't want any nitrates in your water, you know, I mean, that'd be ideal. The additional thing is, when nitrates get close to that threshold, if we have to issue a boil advisory, you can't do a boil advisory with nitrates that's above, I believe, 8.5 parts, then you're doing a bottled water advisory, because when you boil water, it has high nitrate, it concentrates it, so you can't boil away nitrates. So, at any rate, it affects us, even if we're not above that 10 parts per million, it can still be a factor for us, and it's something we have to keep an eye on. Fortunately, we don't have a lot of boil advisories, so it's not been an issue, but these are all things that, you know, as long as we have this plant as a backup, you know, then we have some mechanism to deal with, you know, if there is a catastrophic problem. It could be anything, it could just be a main break on the Xenia side where they can't supply us water for a day or two. You know, that's where this comes in handy, so. That is where we have to look at that if we wanna get off reduced monitoring or not. If we get off reduced monitoring, there's things we're gonna have to do. So then, the possible change of treatment technique, I only put that in there when, as we've talked about building a new plant, you know, and running this plant more. We make free chlorine, we used to make free chlorine as a disinfectant, now we use chloramines, that's what Des Moines uses, that's consistent. It's problematic for us to do that on our small scale. If we were gonna run more, if we ran all the time, we would look at that different treatment change. I was looking into that as a possibility of going back to free chlorine when we run an emergency basis, and I now think we probably won't do that. I probably should cross that off. I don't wanna give you a little too much information tonight. We can put a pin in that one. Retirement of the ground storage tank, we are going to do that. We have 2 tanks, we don't need them. The only reason there's 2 tanks there was for storage capacity. When we build this new tower, it's as big as both of those tanks combined, so we do not need 2 tanks. It actually makes treatment more difficult for us. And the tanks are in poor condition, and if we only keep 1 tank, we only have to rehab 1 tank.
There used to be a fire rating based off of your the insurance was supposedly going to, if you had a better fire rating, your insurance would go down.
That's why we kept those 2 tanks.
Love insurance, but,
And then we built this, and that totally took the place. So actually, right now, we have that 400,000 gallons of elevated storage, plus we have this 250 in the ground over here. So we have, I didn't mean to cut you off. We have frankly more than we're even rated for right now. So getting rid of one of these tanks is it saves us money and it simplifies our treatment process, so.
it
when we
doesn't hurt
go
your
over there-
rating with the, fire rating for insurance purposes by reducing that tank, it doesn't matter. Because we've got the
We're
other
still
tower.
even better
Gotcha.
than we were before, so. I'll show you those 2 tanks when we go over there. The last thing is just, if we're gonna run more, our chemical storage will make a change there. Right now, we buy bleach in these little drums, and it creates some issues for us. If we were gonna get off reduced monitoring and run more, we're gonna wanna change that way that we store that chemical. The last 2 items, both could require a construction permit. It's no big deal, it's just a little bit of red tape we have to go through. Anytime you change a treatment plant, that involves construction permit usually. These things probably will require that, so.
You guys are very careful with the utilities funds as far as equipment, you know, you're not in asking for things every month at all. Is this something you're asking for us to invest in that needs to be done and should be a priority that you're wanting us to make a decision on? Or is it for us to noodle and look at for the next month when
Yeah.
Jolly's here, or?
we don't have to make a decision on anything tonight. If you wanted to make a decision on these, the high service pump and the chem feed upgrades, we're talking $7,200 roughly. I could even get an exact quote for next month. Maybe if we could I could get those prices nailed down, then next month I could just give a firm price on that. I wouldn't mind doing that right now, just to get us through the summer, cause we're white knuckling it right now. Even if we need to run the summer, like, this is a constant, stress inducer, these two things here. So, they are important. All this other stuff is just something we won't get this done this year even if we wanted to, so we have time on this. And then, obviously, if we, we'll take a look at that. If you guys wanna pursue this, if you're not scared off by the concept of spending a few $100,000 to have a backup source, then we would probably wanna involve Forrest to do a more thorough look. If this scares you off to where you say, you know what, we're not gonna spend hundreds of thousands of dollars, then, I mean, we don't really need to go much farther, cause even if we could whittle these down a little bit, we're not gonna get them down to $30,000, that's for sure. We're way nice beyond that. And I would briefly just say, when we go take a look at that, and you look at the condition of some of these things, you might ask yourself, well, why didn't we maintain these as time went along? Well, we didn't really have these nitrate problems until recently, and so it was kind of always the plan. I mean, I've been here a long time, and we were just kind of slowly getting to the point where we just weren't gonna use these wells anymore. So Xenia had been a pretty good partner, and, we had no plans of going back to the wells. It just didn't make any sense to spend any money, and even just 3 or 4 years ago, we thought, once we build this new tower, we don't need the ground storage. We only kept the wells so we could keep that ground storage in service. And so, we kind of just were planning on slowly phasing these wells out. But then things have changed in the last 2 or 3 years with the nitrate issue, and that's what's kind of brought this back to the forefront. So that's kind of why it was a fairly conscious decision to not invest the money in these, and we never needed them. We went 20 years without ever needing them, but anyway, times change, and now maybe we do need them.
If Xenia is out for 3 or 4 days and we have to use that, does it keep up with demand?
Yes.
Okay.
Especially since we've done this water project, our usage is so much less, we cut down so much from water loss that right now, I mean, we're only pumping a little over 200,000 gallons a day, which those wells can do that, no problem. Even in a dry situation, they can probably keep up with that pretty good, so.
But if we did wanna put a lot of money into these, I mean, can it run for a full year and be fully self-sustaining for the town?
Well, I mean, depending on if we did some of this maintenance, I mean, conceivably, yes. The time would come where there's gonna be some capacity issues. When we looked at building a new plant, we're looking for really high demand as time goes on, or higher demand, That's not happening at this moment. So right now, yeah, I mean, I think it can meet the demand for the immediate future, for sure.
But can we have like 50% of our water coming from Xenia and 50% from that on a full-time capacity and?
We looked into that. It's less than ideal because it gives you really inconsistent water quality characteristics. Like, you never know what the hardness is gonna be. You never know, that the water doesn't mix in an easy way. So that's why we kinda stayed away from that. We've got one source comes in at one place, and you just have inconsistent water quality is what you have. So it's not ideal.
Because the wells have their own attributes, their own chemical issues that are, they're just not on TV because they're coming out of wells, but the nitrates are because of service in Des Moines. So yeah, I'm with you on that. I just didn't know if you get to the point, like you said, of blending those together and neutralizing the weaker parts from the wells, does that get you to a happy medium or not? And, I
It
didn't
would
take
be
chemistry.
well, when they are monitoring things like nitrates, for example, they would want you doing tests in your system, they would wanna know that was an accurate representation of what the actual nitrate level is. If we're mixing, like, if you've got a lot of purchased water coming in on one side of town, and here we're we're pumping well water, you could have really different amounts of nitrate, for instance, in one area than the other. So I think that would be a difficult thing to get a good grip on.
Yeah.
In an emergency situation, we could do it, and nitrates are moved, which nitrates aren't always an issue. Yeah, if we just had an issue where they couldn't supply us, or they were having some real capacity issues, yeah, theoretically, we could blend a little bit, it wouldn't be the end of the world.
So in what sense do we want to get out of just using it in an emergency capacity then, if there is this blending problem?
I don't think we do necessarily, it's more just that I'm giving you options that if you made a sizable investment in this plant, and you said, man, this is a lot of money to spend for something we can barely ever run, this is a way, there is a way to be able to utilize it more than we do. Would we, does it make sense? I don't know, it would depend on unforeseen factors, like is this nitrate thing gonna blow up and be a really big deal? I mean, it could taper off, and then the rest of the summer could be trouble-free, I don't think so, but.
So the way I understand this, and I'm not sure if I got all this right, but like the Des Moines Water Works sources, some of it's surface water, some of their treatment plants not surface water. So some of their nitrates are probably zero and some of them are off the charts. And so that'll is based off your geography, where you belong, what your water source is going to be, right? But since ours comes from Des Moines, it's coming from surface more so?
Well, my understanding is they're using Moffett and some of their other aquifer storage. Forrest might know more about this than me. I think they're utilizing those other sources more to try and help. They're blending already to try and get a handle on it, to do anything they can to get it lower,
And what's Grimes' reason they don't have to participate in this whole, like, I'm not gonna water my yard deal?
They must be they're either using their wells or they're in a different district that's not
They're in.
affected by
They're
centralized
not,
water.
their water distribution, their water treatment system and their water distribution system is not yet hooked up to the Des Moines system, so they still have their own
They're still
system.
separate.
They're a separate system.
Okay. So how far are we out, do we need to do this tank rehab? Is it something where we could wait a couple years and see how this Des Moines thing works, whether they're gonna keep up with demand, or is it something we need to really seriously
Well,
get going on?
It's like a rate increase,
It's-
you don't need to rush into it, right?
it's one of these things where, yeah, I know where you're coming from. The big concern is you wouldn't wanna spend too much, we've agreed to revisit building a plant every year or two to just keep
Right.
that as an option. Doesn't make any sense to sink a huge amount of money into this plant to feel like we wasted that 2 years from now when we decide to build a
Right.
proper plant. That being said, I think what you're asking me is, will this limp by for another year or two? And my answer is, I don't know. I can tell you, the last sanitary survey we had, there was quite a lot of discussion about the condition of this tank out here. And the only reason that we get to slip by is because we're emergency use only. Next time, the day might come where, as an authority, they might say, we're not gonna allow this anymore. When that happens, it happens. It might not happen right away, and I don't know. I hate to put it off too much, but, no matter what, this isn't a decision we make tonight.
Right.
Maybe we get a full picture, and then, in a few months, when, we have a better grip on it, then we'll kind of go from there. As far as the filter and the tank, they are functioning right now. We can run it till it just, till there's a failure.
Right.
I just hate to do that because those failures always happen at the most inopportune times. Yeah, you're already running it as an emergency, and then it quits on you. I just wanna stay ahead of it a little bit, so.
So isn't this the same thing as we basically have a backup substation, we've agreed, we're moving forward with that, so we have a backup provider for power. So we should have a backup provider for water that is usable. A lot of people probably don't have that, right?
Most people don't. Usually what people have, this is what makes it so challenging, is usually people have a water treatment plant they use all the time. So all their maintenance goes towards that, so it makes sense to spend those maintenance costs. And then their backup connection would be a rural water or something like that, which has almost no maintenance because it's just a pipe running to the edge of your town. We do it the opposite way, so, we're using that as our main source. So then it makes us, it puts us in a position where we have to spend a lot of money on maintenance on something we never use, which is kind of hard to swallow, but, you know, yes, most towns would not have a backup water plant that, you know, is ready to go online at any time. I think that is kind of unique, and, I will mention that in the past, I always kind of got the feeling that the DNR would urge some of these small plants to fall off and get on, you know, like a Central Iowa Waterworks type of connection that's reliable. This is the first time I've talked to them where I was actually urged that you're probably wise to have a backup plan because of some of these things that have been, there's a little bit of instability on that end. So, they actually are supportive of small towns, you know, who can kind of keep their plants active. So, I mean, it is a good thing. If you asked me 5 years ago, I would have said, let's just shutter the thing and be done with it, but things have changed since then, so. I think it's worth looking at. We'll just have to decide if these total cost of repairs are worth it, you know, to get us by until we perhaps make another decision on a bigger plan, so.
So you and John and Forrest come back next month and prioritize this list, and then this is like phase 2 or something, phase 1, phase 2, or?
That's where we're
That
gonna
work?
need to get, if you wanna pursue this, that's where, we don't have to make a decision whether we get Forrest involved tonight or not, but as far as like this filter thing, the ground storage tank, I think, you know, we can get more bids on that, and we would probably be wise to do so, but I think they're all gonna be in this ballpark. If, as far as what we do with the filter, there's a lot of options there as far as, do you replace it, do you rehab it? There are ways we could utilize part of that filter, and then maybe if the bottom half is beyond repair, maybe we add a pressure filter. There's different ways we can go about, you know, dealing with that, and I think that's something we probably need someone with a little bit more reach than I have to get to the bottom of some of those questions.
So that the Viking Industrial Painting, they do this is their business. It's not just a painting, so they do maintenance on other communities, treatment plants, similar to this.
Yeah, as far as this, the ground storage, because that's a concrete tank, they have a company they are associated with. This is a quote from Viking, but Viking works with a company that, Viking would more do the steel tanks, and then this other company that they work with would be more for the concrete tanks. They're just a little bit different, so.
And you've had a good relationship with them, or?
Yeah, Viking is good. As a matter of fact, I was hoping tonight to talk about the maintenance contract for this tower, because we've determined, you know, it's getting to the point now, it's, believe it or not, it's old enough, it's starting to need a little maintenance. So we will probably be doing a maintenance contract. I will recommend a maintenance contract with this tank, and I would recommend Viking for that, because we already use them. So, yeah, as far as the company, Viking that's who we use, and we're happy with them, and they have been, you know, good partners.
What's the state requirement on public bid letting, like the dollar amount? It used to be like 140,000 or something.
Yes. Maybe it's closer to 200,000 now.
Okay, I didn't know.
I don't know if this dollar amount, where this
We just
dollar amount.
dealt with that.
I tried to get them to break this down into a way that we would turn this into a maintenance contract on this tank, where we could just do annual installments like we do with our other tanks, and it wouldn't be a big upfront cost. But on this particular one, I just think because of aging condition, they just wanted to bid this as a one-time project. So, and a little of this we can cut down on, a little of this repair I can do. You're gonna see when we go over there, the cap of the tank is really failing, where the concrete's starting to fall apart. Some of that patching we can do in-house, but it might save us like, you know, a few $1,000, $5,000. It's not gonna make a noticeable difference on this bid, so. So that number might be, you know, we can tweak that a little and we get some other bids, you know, it might be a little less, but like I said before, it's not gonna be cheap no matter what, so.
Is there any reason why we don't go ahead and approve the top 4 known issues up to a certain amount? And
It'd
just,
really just be the top 2, because the
Top two,
second 2
okay.
I've already done. It was such a small amount of money, we just went ahead and did
like, you don't have
that.
exact numbers, but if we do an up to amount,
Yeah.
If you said up to 10, I know that would cover it. I really believe it's gonna be within the ballpark of where we.
I just don't wanna do that and then not do the other ones that you think are priority as well. if there's not been maintenance, to me, it's good to have a backup source. The reserves are strong and the budget model is fine on the water side, so we're in a position financially to make these improvements and have a backup source. That's just,
These top two, I would rate them as that's what I'd like to do to get through this summer.
Right.
Yes, and then the bottom stuff is stuff we'd look at that, implementing in the future, whenever that may be.
Kim, what are your thoughts?
I would say
What do you
we
think?
do the top line items.
These
because-
two,
Yeah,
the 7,200?
well, if
Well,
we-
he said up to
to 10,000.
10,000.
If you, that just protects
covers
me, I
us.
don't, I
Right.
really don't think it'll be
Yeah.
that much.
I would
I'll make the motion.
Okay, I'll second that.
Okay, how do you,
How do you vote? I thought we were gonna skip it. Panic.
no. How do you vote? Sherman?
Yes.
Belden?
Yeah.
Crawford?
Yes.
AB, yes.
Is everybody in
And when I
agreement
nail this down, if this
to
is,
have this as a backup source?
Well,
Yes.
yes, unless the only problem with this is if we decided 4 years down the road that our water prices from Xenia are gonna keep going up and up and up, I think the break-even point was 5%. So, all of this would be for naught.
I agree with you on that.
That's the only thing there. I
But-
mean, I agree, it's good to have a backup source, but that's where we gotta make that decision. If we go all in and then we build a plant, that money's gone.
Right.
That's the only drawback. I see.
me and Pat have talked about this
So let's
extensively,
build
and
a
this is
plan.
hard decisions. This, no matter what, this
We're
is a
that,
very
we're that
hard
close.
decision.
We really.
Well, it's hard to see into the future, and that's what we're trying to do.
Right.
Thanks for the details on
Yeah.
that.
Yeah,
Thank you very
sorry,
much.
that probably
No.
longer than this.
And Ben explains it so much better than I can.
Ready?
When we look at it, it'll help too.
So, do you wanna come back then?
Yeah, we
Explain to
gotta
the
come
public what
back
we're
and
doing.
adjourn.
At this
Adjourn.
point, the
We couldn't-
board members will be taking a tour of the water plant facility with the water superintendent. So we're going to end the stream and we will adjourn after the plant tour.
So we need to come back here after.
Yeah, you don't have to come back
Okay,
to adjourn.
all right.
Oh,
Oh, you don't? Okay.